What about it, Sean?
Well, clearly it's unfortunate that he just went home out of nowhere. What do I think personally? I think both sides are probably right to a certain degree. I think it's great for him that he's unhappy about what he's doing in life in general with his life, and he's saying, you know what, this is not making me happy. I'm just going home. Good for him, but it stinks for the fans. It stinks for the overall product, and I think ultimately that he'll be back sooner than later.
But if what we're hearing is true, that's extremely unprofessional.
Wildly unprofessional.
It is.
Isn't he in, I mean, all moral things and frustrations aside, isn't he in breach of contract?
I guess, to some
extent. Is that a thing right here?
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. If he's under a contract...
Right, to perform,
you would think that you have to live out the entire length of that contract.
Right.
And clearly it doesn't seem that they granted him a release. He just went home. So he has to be in breach somewhat. I wonder if they want him to come back so badly that they're just not going to call him on it, and they're going to be like, all right, take your time, do what you got to do, and then come back.
There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys in the business that couldn't get away with doing things like that. Punk's probably one of them.
Well, yeah. I mean, Stone Cold did it in
like if
2002.
If someone
he
like
can get away with
a John Cena, a Rock, a Stone Cold, a Hulk Hogan, they do things that perhaps they're not supposed to do. It's very different than if like an Xavier Woods or Titus O'Neil decided he just wasn't going to appear.
Well, they have no clout.
Black people.
They would be wow, that was really racially biased.
Not me.
Yeah, yeah. You were just doing your job as wrestling analyst to analyze the black people. That's but all right, so I feel like considering, and I don't even want to keep saying considering this is real because let's face it, this is not a work. This is not an angle. It's not a storyline. This is CM Punk.
Well, even if it is,
really
even if it were a work, he'll be back. Done.
I think so, but I'm saying, do you think now we're in this period of he got mad, he said I'm going home to sort things out or possibly not to come back, and we're in like kind of like this Vince is maybe trying to talk to him, trying to convince him, and seeing where they're going to stand, and if so he just flat out refuses, would then Vince make a move to sue him for being in breach of contract?
I mean, I guess. I mean, what realistically could you sue him, like, monetarily? Like, what could you sue him for? I mean, he probably has. He probably has a.
He's contracted to appear, and now he is not. Thus, that is breach.
Right.
He's not suing him. Come on.
No, I know, but I'm saying that, like, if he's trying to. I figure if he talks to him, gets him to come back, they can kind of just water under the bridge. Granted, there'll be some repercussions, but he won't necessarily be in breach. Just goes home before his contract is over and it just completely quits the company. That's a problem legally.
And now, does he get, even if he comes back now, does he get a receipt?
I mean, he has to.
Right. It's probably.
It's not right away. Then at some point.
Right. It's all bad. It's all bad news from here on.
Because think about it, we never really saw this. I mean, granted, it's hard to believe that Stone Cold Steve Austin would get a receipt for anything because he made the company what it is today. But we never really got to see if there would have been a receipt, considering he came back to.
He had 2 matches. He fought Eric Bischoff and then The Rock.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, by your theory, I mean, a star such as Brock Lesnar came back and got a receipt. I mean, you've said that time and time again.
I think that was...
Yeah, but he left after his contract was over. He didn't just... Right?
No, he left after his contract was over, but he put on such a horrid match with Goldberg at Mania 20 that perhaps they come back, they build him up as this unstoppable monster, and they just want to make sure they establish John Cena can... it might have just been as simple as John Cena beats the UFC guy. It might have been they know Brock is probably legitimately the most terrifying human being in the locker room, and they need to make sure that he was willing to actually do business and do a job if called for.
That could all be true, but I mean, honestly, it could have just been as simple as John Cena just did the favor in the main event at WrestleMania, and they weren't going to have him lose twice. It could have been that simple, to be honest with you.
ultimately, in this whole thing, I don't think Vince goes after Punk. Definitely not legally, because that's way too public for them. But also just because the last few years, they've spent so much time repairing bridges that have been burnt in the past. You know, Ultimate Warrior, San Martino. You don't want to now start burning more bridges with current guys, where it's going to take forever, if at all, to bring Punk back.
But we've seen things like this over the years, and we know that eventually the truth of this whole situation, or some story that gets at least fabricated to some degree, gets out to the public so that we have some semblance of an idea of what happened. And then we'll know what was actually going on.
That's what I'm thinking, because no matter what happens, I feel like in the end WWE makes it an angle. If Punk comes back,
totally,
they'll play it off like they were behind it the whole time.
But some of the musings I've heard on this are things like, Punk's contract is expiring in a few months anyway, so he sort of seems like once again he might not want to resign, but this time just because he's getting older and he's kind of feel like he's done mostly anything he wants to do. Like, the only thing left to do is main event WrestleMania, and it seemed like his window opportunity to do that kind of passed, and now it seems like it's more like it's Daniel Bryan's time to do something like that. So
I don't think it has passed.
It pretty much
Not
has.
At all. No.
That's the big thing I'm hearing everywhere.
You don't know how much longer he wanted to be involved with this, though. This could become one of those things where he says, all right, I'll stick around one more year and see if I get main event. Oh, okay, I'll stick around one more year. He might have just been like, you know what, I really don't need to do that, and screw this. And then the feeling apparently for some fans is that he might have been going toward this angle with Triple H, and because he's leaving the company in July, they were going to have Triple H go over again.
Right, that's what I heard.
If that's the case, then even though it's unprofessional, I don't blame him for thinking the way he does. But while I agree with you that he might not want to stick around for another year or two to see if he gets that main event, I don't believe his window is closing, as they would say. Like, he's not like an aging star.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be this year.
It's not the WWE's window. It's his window. You got to understand that. If he feels like he only has this year left, then that's his window. That's it. And we don't know that. We're just assuming that's how he feels, because I would imagine that's the only reason why he got this frustrated enough to leave, because he probably feels like this was it for him, and when he didn't get what he wanted for his final time or, a couple months in the WWE, he just said, F it, I made my money, I don't need this BS, and went home.
Plus,
that's probably the closest to what's going on.
And plus, it's not like he's on this roster and then someone else is superseding him in a spot and getting a main event. It's that he's there all year, and then, like he said, these guys from 10 years ago just pop back in and they get put right into the main event. It's like, well, I'm never going to get a shot then. Although, if he's playing a cerebral game of chess, perhaps he thinks, what if I just bail right now and I come back in like 5 years? I'll probably be, there'll probably be enough hype behind that where I just get put right into the main event.
I really doubt that that's the case, to be honest with you.
Think about it.
I doubt that's where his head is at.
I don't think that's completely the case, but I definitely wouldn't rule it out, because he's smart.
I wouldn't rule it out completely, but it's honestly, we all agree it's unprofessional.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Walking out of your job that you're contracted to be at because you don't like the way you're being used it's very unprofessional.
Especially when you're in such a public light as he is, when you have people who look up to you and who watch you, and
right,
And that's the thing I'm getting at, and it's kind of a crybaby move, because honestly, if he could sit there and see, I'm here, it's January, February, whatever, and I'm here until July, and he's looking down the road and he sees WrestleMania, Triple H, he may or may not win, he's not going to be in the main event. And obviously he's upset about that because things didn't go the way he wanted. He probably, in all honesty, the way he's been built up to be like a top guy, he should have at least had that one moment to really feel like he's up there with the top tops, in my opinion. I mean, people might not feel the same way. Even if he saw that not going his way, at least be a man, an adult, a professional, and stay there, do your job. If you feel like other people are not getting their just due, ask to, you know what, if this is the way it's going to be, I'm only going to be here for a little bit of time. Let me put over all the guys I feel need to be put over.
Right.
Do the favors for them, clean in the middle, and then go home.
But
that's
again,
it.
We don't again, we don't know. We don't really know what's going on, and we could speculate all day long. But
we could spec, but we could take all the things that we read in the sheets that we hear there.
Here's
put it all together.
At the end of the day, the unfortunate truth to the situation is that here are the facts that we actually have.
What are they?
CM Punk hasn't appeared on WWE television or any WWE live shows since the Royal Rumble.
So that's 2 Raws, 2 SmackDowns, so 2 weeks of programming.
Right. Oh,
because they're filming. They're filming SmackDown right now. Yeah. So, and he's definitely not there.
Right.
So it's essentially 2 weeks of programming of the major shows.
And he's allegedly been pulled from all future shows that he was booked on. That's all we have so far. That's what we actually have solidly